Welcome back to Beyond the Glass Door. We are here, Season 1, Episode 2 with Rattiya, Marketing Coordinator. So, first let's start this off by kind of getting into a little brief story of how we met. It was at Berkeley. We both went to Berkeley, and a mutual friend introduced us really briefly, brought you in. You were already living in Los Angeles at the time, and I think we just kind of stayed connected over text. I came out here for about a week, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna move here. So we just became closer friends after that. Can you just, walk us through your day-to-day as a marketing coordinator? What does that entail?
Yeah, as a marketing coordinator, I do everything from the basic things of taking notes sometimes, but all the way up to, dealing with ticket buys and tour stuff, and then I help deliver the songs to DSPs, and that includes Spotify, Apple, all of them. I create pitches, and then I kind of just help ideate throughout marketing campaigns and come up with activations and stuff.
That's awesome. So you're doing that now, and can you speak a little bit about your sort of end game in music? Like, what do you want where do you want to be in 10 years, for example?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I recently founded a company called Athenaeum where I manage A.G. Chris, super talented producer, and I guess my end goal would just to be self-sufficient, where I can just bring Athenaeum to a level where I don't need a 9-to-5. I can just do that full time.
Right.
So I'd love to gather more clients eventually. I really love to break Gavin and then build onto my roster.
Right. I think that's a really interesting kind of boat to be in. I think a lot of people in the music business, right now have I wouldn't even necessarily call it a 10-year plan, but a plan to eventually kind of, be their own boss and sort of work for themselves one day. So in the meantime, how are you able to leverage the access that you have, working for a label as a marketing coordinator to kind of fuel your aspirations to be your own boss?
I feel like, for example, a really good thing to do, especially with industry events, is there's always an RSVP link, and you always have to fill out, first, last name, and email. And I always put my work email at whatever company it is, because your company is more recognizable than just like a Gmail or a Yahoo. Right. So that's something that I do to leverage getting into places. And then from there, just normal networking, but also because I have this company, I can also bring on another step into my persona. I'm not just a marketing coordinator. I'm now a CEO. I'm now a manager.
Right. That's awesome. And when was Athenaeum itself? When did you found it?
I founded it in October of 2023.
Right. Wow. So, based on everything that you've done up until this point, as soon as you found it, you kind of hit the ground running. You had a writing camp in Atlanta, and some of the more notable attendees included Ray Vaughn from Top Dog Entertainment.
Shout out Ray Vaughn.
Yep. And that word camp, writing camp, it's thrown around just constantly by A&Rs, by managers, producers, writers. Can you kind of walk us through your process, not necessarily step by step, but really thought process in putting that all together? Because I remember, you first told me about it, and then, over the course of it, called me, called other people, consulted just about certain challenges you had, constantly having to refine, your plan and, making certain compromises here and there, but really just kind of walk us through your process and putting that together.
I guess the first step was just have an idea, and then from there on, think about who to help execute it. So for me, I find myself pretty good at delegating tasks, not just so I can delegate it and then they do all the work. I did a lot /most maybe all of the work.
Yeah.
Just finding people who would help. For example, I brought on someone named Hatch, and he's really good at content, so I delegated the content and all the film shots and everything to him. And then I brought on someone, Rattiya Creative. The founder of that is named Cadence, and she was really good at consulting because she helped put on her own camps in the past and attended multiple camps. So I used her experience to help guide the way I wanted it to flow. And then from that point on, I just started reaching out to my hands within arm's reach worth of network, and then they reached to their arm's reach of network, and that's how I was able to gather so many beautiful and creative and talented and down-to-earth people, because I reached out to the people that I trusted, and then they reached out to the people they trusted, and so on.
Right. No, that's awesome. And I think you put it together like it was go, go, go. And that's kind of a similar mindset, because you told me when you started managing your producer, Gavin, you said, I didn't really know like what I was doing or what the plan was, but you just went for it. It was just going for it. And can you kind of explain why, having that just go for it mindset is important, not only in the music industry, but just life in general?
It's definitely really scary.
Right.
I feel like a lot of times people are afraid to take that next step because they don't know what the outcome is and they don't know what's next, and that's really, really scary. I was scared of it for a while, and for the past year before I founded Athenaeum and before I managed Gavin, I found myself trying to figure out what my purpose was, because I just was in a place where I wasn't really happy, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I was afraid to take that next step. So I just said, F it, I'll just go for it. And I just feel like it's really important to not be afraid of failure, because failure is going to come, and you just hope that it comes early, so
right.
that when you get to that point, someone told me the other day it's important to just lose a couple dollars and not the big bucks,
right.
Screw yourself over in the beginning. So I'm still young, I'm still have that drive.
Yeah.
So I think you just can't be afraid to fail.
Right. No, that's definitely it's definitely a key component of it. And too, I think there's afraid of failure, and then also sometimes like that fear of failure, it can manifest itself in more ways than one. Not only when you're trying to accomplish something, but for people like myself, I consider myself very reserved. So going to kind of larger like industry events, say like I kind of have that, am I going to carry myself the right way? I'm afraid that if I just go here, I'm going to be, standing in the corner. I think you, on the other hand, you're a very like outside person, you're very outgoing. You're someone who's very good at building relationships. So, recently there was a whole bunch of buzz in LA for Grammy Week. And I think to people who aren't in the music industry, Grammy Week, the Grammys is just, it's one night. And can you kind of, get into like really what is Grammy Week about? Kind of walk us through, what that experience was for you.
Yeah, this was my second time, sorry. This was my second time attending Grammy Week. Last year I would hear about a party and I would drive 40 minutes this way, 40 minutes that way, 40 minutes another direction. I was trying to go to everything, because with Grammy Week there's at least 5 different events happening in one night for the whole week. And last year I was just trying to be everywhere. I was trying to be outside. And this year for me really is about opportunity cost, because with an event like Grammy Week, it's all these different labels and all these different people who are nominated. They're throwing parties, and it's good to go to them, but also it's important to pick about what is going to most serve you at the end of the day, and not to overexert yourself, because then you're just going to be really obliterated by the end. So I would just say take your time going to events and just enjoy the moment. But Grammy Week is just all about networking and making connections and
right.
putting your face out there.
Right. And was there ever a point in your career where you were kind of afraid to kind of put your face out there? Because I feel like there is, this one component to it where, people who really want to go after, want to do big things can sometimes be like, oh, well, I haven't done enough yet to go here and da-da-da-da-da. Was that ever like something that crossed your mind, or were you just like, what, F it, like I'm just gonna go out and I'm just gonna show face and, I'm just gonna be there?
Absolutely. Imposter syndrome is something that I always face.
Right.
Even going to Ralph's.
Right.
Shout out Ralph's.
Yeah.
Do I deserve to be here?
Right.
You deserve to be wherever you are at that moment in time. If I'm in the Grammys for some reason, I'm there because I'm there in that moment in time. Like, I just feel like it's not that deep.
Right.
Quote of the day, it's really not that deep.
It's really not that
and
deep.
One thing also I was explaining the other day to somebody is it's important to not just network vertically but horizontally.
Right.
And if you find yourself in these places where you're having imposter syndrome, where you're afraid that you don't fit in, it's okay. But and another thing is, you want to be in a room where people are smarter than you, quote smarter than you, because then you're always learning, and
Right.
then you're always growing, and the next thing you know, now people are going up to you. I kind of just word vomited that. I hope that made sense. I'm so sorry.
No, it definitely made sense. And this kind of brings me like to my next point. Now, like, specifically in the hip hop space, like, women have become, honestly the face of it, not only on the artist side, but it's also starting to translate more to the business side as well. And, as a woman in the hip hop space, like, what are some of the, biggest challenges, but also advantages that you've kind of observed that you've had along the way?
Oh God. So many challenges. One of them, and the most obvious, is like, you're a woman sometimes in a room full of men, and then it's really easy to just taken advantage of and just belittled because people think that you're just that girl just to be in the room.
Right.
People don't really take what you have to say seriously at first, especially if, I'm all about dressing however you want. It's just hard when you're in a room full of men and it's a hip-hop space and everyone's like high or drunk, and now you're in this girl in this really tight skinny dress, and now it's like, oh, you're here because you're here to do something else, and it's like, no, I'm actually so-and-so's manager, or no, I'm actually the A&R for this session. And it's like, so I feel like it's always about presenting yourself in a way so that you do kind of get taken seriously, but also being empowered in your womanhood. So I feel like that's a really big challenge there. And then dating in this industry,
Right.
especially in LA, because I've dealt with so many times where, you fall for somebody who you end up working with, and then it's just so difficult as a woman, and maybe on the men's side too. But I would say that's definitely a disadvantage. But an advantage is that since people already underestimate you, as soon as you say something, it's like, oh shit, what did you just say? And then the whole vibe changes, and then they start taking you seriously.
Right.
So I don't mind being a woman, because underestimate me all you want.
Right. No, that's a great answer. And I'm not gonna like ask too much about dating in the industry, because I'm not just gonna like throw that out there. I kind of thought that would be like a corny question, but really, since you brought it up, like, what is that like? Is there like an actual challenge to it? Like, you both go home at the end of the day. Do you find yourselves complaining about kind of like the same issues, or you just put that all aside?
Well, I've recently found someone that makes me so happy, and he also happens to be in the industry. But honestly, I just think that we uplift each other, and I feel like in this industry, it's really easy to be competing with your significant other. So I think it's just finding somebody who uplifts you and supports you, and it's very much a industry where people use each other. And if you find someone that you trust that isn't using you but helping you.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's, speaking of like trust too, it's not only an LA thing where you find people who are kind of disingenuous, but, especially when you kind of find yourself in the industry in LA, that's like kind of that's digging even deeper into the disingenuous kind of, category of people. I mean, it's not to say that everybody in the music industry is like a terrible person, but, how are you able to kind of pinpoint and identify like, oh, you know what? I'm going to rock with that person for, the next 10 years. And, oh, you know what? That person's probably not worth my time at all. What are some of the things that you pick up on to figure out if someone's genuine or not in music?
Well, one of the easiest things is, hi, I'm so-and-so. What do you do?
Right.
It's like, what? You just met and you're already asking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, and then when you say something that doesn't fit what they were trying to go after, it's like, okay, on to the next person.
Right.
So I feel like that's a very easy and telling sign. But some people are better at like hiding it, and then 5 minutes later down the conversation, it's like, oh well, let's totally go grab. Oh, we should go to the so and so or whatever, and it's like, yes, build your connections, sure, but building relationships at the end of the day, like, be in it for the long game, and not just for who or what they are and what they do. Because, they could step down, they could get fired, and next thing you know, that SVP of A&R is now jobless.
Right.
Are you still rocking with them at the end of the day?
Right.
Go for the person, and everything will come to you that's for you.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's good. I got to take that one with me too. So as I said before, we went to like a music school, right? And so when you kind of come out to LA and you see like different faces in the industry, you realize like, oh, not everybody had necessarily the privilege of being kind of funneled into the music industry. So, what are some, obviously there's some clear advantages, and you can speak on those too, but what are some of the disadvantages? Because I also feel like there can be a perception created, like, people, might be like, oh, like this person, didn't get the right way, or oh, da 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 da.
I don't think there's necessarily an advantage, or I mean, obviously there are obvious advantages from going to music school, but even that has its disadvantages. I think that going into entertainment itself is all about who you know and just being at the right place at the right time. And I chose personally to go to Berkeley because I knew that that name sure would get me into certain doors, but it's up to you at the end of the day to stay in those doors and to get into even bigger doors. So like, I knew that going to really any college could get you into an internship, and thankfully, and I'm so blessed, I was able to get into the Apple Music co-op program through Berkeley, and from there I kept doing more and more internships that eventually landed me at a more permanent role. So I think that music school will give you so much knowledge and so much great experience, but it's up to you at the end of the day to make those next steps.
Right. And along the way, like when you're doing those internships, and I've done some myself, like you meet certain mentors, and can you kind of, especially in the music industry, aside from them just being the connection, like what are some of the impacts that your mentors have had on you?
Yeah, I love my mentors. I was in a program called Femme It Forward, and I was paired with a woman named Tina Davis, and she is a beautiful, bright, and just super warm and amazing soul, and she honestly just taught me how to be a great human at the end of the day, and just things to watch out for being a woman in the industry. And I think that what was your question?
Yeah, like the importance of mentors and stuff.
The importance of mentors. The importance of having mentors really is just about having someone that you trust, that's had more experience than you, that is in the same lane as what you want to end up doing one day. Because without mentorship, like, who do you go for like true, real advice? Like, I could ask my mom and my dad all day for advice, but they'll never know what it's like to be in this industry and what the ins and outs are and what the cutthroat moments are.
Right. Yeah, no, and I've like, kind of wrapping this up and everything, like, but I don't want to end it on a sour note, obviously, but like, speak on, what do those cutthroat moments look like, and what are some of your experiences with them?
I feel like everybody's cutthroat moments are unique to their situation.
Right.
One cutthroat moment isn't going to be across every single industry and every single court team or whatever. Some cutthroat things are, like, I've had ideas, like great ideas, and then I've had them just stolen because I happened to be out that day, or just stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I haven't had anything too bad, knock on wood, happen yet. But I'm sure it's bound to happen. People just soaking you up for everything you are, and then just taking that as their own.
Right. Thank you so much, Rattiya, for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, the growing audience of currently about 14 Instagram followers, but hopefully a year now we'll be up. Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, that wraps Season 1, Episode 2, Beyond the Glass Door.
Niggas really snitching on they mans, that's that movie shit. All I do is rap and get this money, and I rap. If you ever heard me say it in a song, then it's facts. I heard every bitch that ever fuck with you got to clap. If I ever hear you say my name again, I'ma snap. I'm a Germtown nigga, I should tie that on my back. Had to cut some niggas loose from my life cause they was whack. Man, how many niggas hating on me, I cannot keep track. If you got a problem with me, you can tell it to my sack, yeah. In my Uber, bitch, had to let my old shorty go, she was a stupid bitch. Man, I hated fishy pussy, I don't fuck with sushi, bitch. I wake up to palm trees